Let's go to Chris Landry. Chris, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Hey, Ryan. How are you, man?
I'm good. Still trying to recover from Saturday night. What a game in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, give me Georgia and Alabama as often as you can give it to me because, man, those are some really good games. And, it's interesting because those two teams are not the traditional rivals. They don't play each other very much. But when you play the national championship game and then the SEC championship game in less than 12 months, and you have two of the best games we have seen. In fact, probably if you took the 12-month calendar year and you said it's the two best football games you've seen, probably those two games, if you think about it. There's been some quirky games like A&M and LSU scored, 160 points between the two or whatever. But those two games were iconic and very, very impressed by how Georgia played the game, had Alabama on the ropes. And, to me, with a young team, how much they've gotten better from the debacle at LSU where they couldn't find their rear ends with both hands. I mean, they were fumbling and couldn't do anything well. That's a sign of a well-coached team that they've gotten better and better. But, finishing is always a chore. I always say you got to be good to be in a position to win. You got to have a little luck, and you have to learn how to win and finish games out to be a championship team. And Georgia's really, really good, and I think on a cusp of being there. But I think Alabama showed their championship medal, and even though they didn't play their best, found a way to win it.
Chris, when you go back from a coaching perspective, what was Kirby thinking on the fake punt? Was that just basically looking and saying, we've played our best, I've got to gamble right here? I mean, I'm looking at a tied score. We've played our best. I've got to take a chance. What was what was going through his mind there?
Well, first of all, I mean, for me, I thought it was risky. 4th and 11, and I'm, by nature very conservative. I might not have gone for the fake field goal if I were Saban against Clemson, or might not have gone with the fake field goal to start the opening second half in the Super Bowl if I were Sean Payton. I mean, so let's just call it like it is, and I'll defend coaches in this regard that, they're always, when it works, oh, man, he's got the guts of a burglar. That's great coaching. When it doesn't work, what is that idiot thinking?
Sure.
So I that's just the way it is. But I go in and think 4th and 11, the percentages are I'm going to make Alabama go 80, maybe 90 yards, depending upon the punt, and take my chances. It's not like the defense, Georgia's defense, was on the field that long. They made Alabama's defense stay on the field longer, so I didn't get it. Now, what did he see? I think a couple of things. He obviously saw something that he thought he could pull off. You don't call a play with an idea, I'm not sure this is going to work. What the hell, we'll give it a go anyway. I mean, you go in with you think you've got something, and he had a look that he thought. I think it was true that the play didn't get, snapped quickly because I thought it was tipped off with Justin Fields in there. Now, if you're going to do that, you got to set that up in previous weeks. You got to have Justin Fields on your punt team more so that you don't tip off that something's going on when he's on the field. That was a problem there. But he obviously saw something that he liked, and he obviously felt like that he needed to keep the ball. I think personally, for the second game in a row, they got caught with, they go into the championship game last year preparing for Hurts. And then now they're having to face Tua in the second half. And they went in with everything with pressure and doing a really good job facing Tua. And now they got to deal with a mobile quarterback. And I think they really were struggling to stop Alabama. And I thought they felt like they needed to keep the ball. And so it's pretty obvious they did, or else you don't take the risk on 4th and 1. That's a different story. You've got a lot of options there. 4th and 11, man, you not only have to execute it, but you're probably going to have to make somebody miss or break a tackle for it to work. That was risky.
Chris, there's two things that I think that you deserve Listen, your analysis is spot on, but there's two things that stuck out with me that you say that I think is even above the rest. When a lot of us don't see things, your eyes sees things, and it goes back to the summer. You spotted Auburn before anybody else did, and you also spotted something. And these are the two comments that just stick with me. You saw in limited time Jalen Hurts getting better. You said it over and over right here on this program that you saw a different Jalen Hurts improving. That young man showed it on Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't get. I get the understanding and the rooting for Tua as the best quarterback. I think that was proven out this year, and it took Alabama's offense to a different dynamic. What I don't like, and I realize it's the part of the society we live in today, is I'm just going to call it, by some people, just the trashing. Ryan, we live in a world today where we can't say something nice about somebody unless we got to trash somebody else. I don't get that. And I thought that young man, Jalen Hurts, took unnecessary what did he do wrong? Other than maybe that Tua is a better passer, what did he do wrong? I mean, all he did, he stayed there. He was a great teammate. He was supportive. He was there to do everything they've asked him to do. He's fought through injuries, and he worked hard to get better. And I felt like all year long that, just the law of averages, that they were going to need both quarterbacks to win. I said it all year. I thought either quarterback could have gotten Alabama through the regular season, most likely. And, but now, once you get into the conference championship game and the playoffs, which is now where we are, that the likelihood is you're going to need both, because you're one play away from that guy being your starting quarterback again. So when it happened, the first thing I thought of is, all the people that, were, not, I don't know if they were anti. You tell me. You deal with a lot of them on a more regular basis than I do. But I got the perception of, he's not that good or whatever. I think, he saved Alabama. They don't win that game without him, pure and simple. And so, that is meaningful, to prepare himself mentally and physically to be, and I said it, they were going to prepare him every game, and he was going to prepare like he was starting every game, because you're one play away from being the starter. And that's just from coaching and I think that, you tend to defend players that do it the right way. And I think that young man does it the right way. Is he the passer, the skilled passer that Tua is? No. What does that make him a bad person? Of course not. I think the young man deserves an awful lot of credit, and I think that deserves a special place in Alabama history for what he did, but more importantly, how he did it.
Chris, as we go into this championship game and we talk about the semifinal game with Oklahoma, do you have some early maybe analysis? And I know that you'll dive deeper. You cover the college football, you cover NFL. The college football season is getting a little bit of a break here. But as you look to Oklahoma, Alabama, just maybe some early thoughts on this game.
I see it differently than a lot of people do. I mean, people think, this is going to be a 60-40 game. No, I don't think it's going to be that. And why would Alabama play that type of game? I mean, here are my thoughts for Alabama. If I'm Alabama, let's just take it both ways. If I'm Oklahoma, what do I want to do? I want to get this into an up-tempo game. I think anybody. I mean, it doesn't take a veteran scout or coach to look and say, well, what can Oklahoma do really well? Well, they can move the football, right? I mean, they're not great running it, but they can throw it across the yard. And getting into an up-tempo game suits them. Why would Alabama try to engage them in that? Could they, if they're healthy at quarterback, could they match points with Oklahoma throwing the football in the air? Sure. Why do that when you've got such a huge advantage running the football right at a defensive front that can't get off the field? I expect Alabama to compress this game. What do I mean by that? I expect them to run the football and run it and run it. And yeah, they're gonna have to load the box with 8-9 guys, and I think Alabama will certainly throw the football and score points. But to me, it is not how many points you score if you're Alabama. It's how long you take to score them. Wear them out, because the longer you're wearing them out, you're doing two things. You're keeping that offense off the field, and you're keeping your defense fresh. And if I had to bank on a team getting off the field more successfully defensively, it would be Alabama against Oklahoma. I don't expect Alabama to hold Oklahoma to 13 points, but I don't expect them to give up 40 points either. I don't think Oklahoma's going to have enough possessions to do that. At least that's how I would play it. I just think that this is going to be a different type of game. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, but if I had to look at it, I mean, I could see it like a 38-21 type of game, something along those lines, to where Oklahoma will get some points, but I think you can do a good job pattern matching. I don't think you have to overplay the run, because their running game is not that good. Now, I will tell you where they're really good that nobody knows. Oklahoma's offensive line may be as good as any offensive line that Alabama's seen this year. In terms of protecting for the quarterback, it's really good. But I think Alabama's got a big advantage running the football right at them. And, I think that slows down pass rush. It allows either quarterback to have success. But I think just, getting 7 points on the end of 5-minute, 6-minute drives is the way to go here. And I think it's an easy win. And I don't think worrying about scoring 55 or 60, let that come naturally. If you get enough possessions to do it, fine. But just get out there and wear them down. Don't give them a chance to get in the game. That's how I would play it if I were Alabama. If I'm Oklahoma, I'm trying to get it up tempo, because I know I got to outscore them, because I'm not going to be able to stop them.
Chris, as you look at this offensive coordinator, Mike Locksley leaving, can you give us some maybe thoughts on that, and also maybe what you're hearing from a buzz standpoint? I mean, you may be hearing the same names that we're hearing here. Certainly Dan Enos is part of the staff. Josh Gaddis part of the staff. We're hearing other names like Hugh Freeze. Just your thoughts as this offensive coordinator vacancy now will become available after Mike Locksley departs for Maryland.
Well, obviously, it was something that was expected. It is something that Nick has come to expect, and it's a big part of what his process is. And I'm going to go back to when Nick got the job at Miami, and I was doing a lot of stuff for him then, and it's kind of continued when we've talked about when he put his staff together at Alabama. And it's part of the beauty of when you win and you make tons of money, you can afford to do this. This is where, they say, it takes money to make money. Well, when you've got a lot of money, you can do things to situate yourself. Well, if you're going to be successful, a lot of people are going to come take your people, right? Well, Nick is kind of prepared to where he expects to lose certain people off his staff. Now, some, not so much. He expects maybe some of the underlings to either work their way up and to have a bigger role from an analyst to a position coach or even more. And he expects his coordinators to move on and get head jobs. So, Mike was in a position, along with Dan Enos, to kind of share this role, and Mike's the play caller, but this has been set up for Dan Enos to get this job. Now, I don't know who else he would add to the mix and what type of role he'd want to split up. For example, if he wanted somebody and Dan was comfortable with being in a co-coordinator role and they divvied it up, that's a possibility. But it also could be where Dan's the full coordinator and somebody else is in that quarterback coaching role like Dan is. Dan, of the two, if you asked me, which one would I'd be, I'd rather, how do I put this? Which one I'd worry about losing more of the two? I'd rather keep Dan Enos than Locksley, and I like Mike. I think Dan is the real star there. He's the reason why Jalen Hurts is better. He's the main reason why, and he's the reason why Tua's, I think, become better. And I think he's still working with Tua to become a better decision maker and not constantly going for the big play and whatnot. I think Dan's a real veteran guy that understands what they want to do. Now, Who they add to the mix, I don't know. They're going to add somebody. Now, Josh Gaddis is somebody with his ties, could go with Mike. He has obviously a lot of value, but what he'll try to do is convince him that staying here and what that'll do, maybe Josh is part of that. Maybe Josh has a bigger role with Dan. It depends upon what other options that he has. And with Nick, it's about fits. That's why he's gone through a dozen coordinators, a dozen, offensive and defensively, and it never drops a beat because he's constantly prepared, and he always has the guy waiting in the wings, whether to be the guy or be part of being the guy. So it really depends upon kind of mixing and matching who he can add to it. I know that there was a lot of interest in bringing in Hugh Freeze a year ago. I don't know what's going on with you right now. I know there's interest by Tennessee. A deal hadn't been done. The Auburn situation, you and Gus are close as daughters at all. Nothing's done there, and I don't know that anything will get done. The Liberty job is open. I don't know. What's he waiting for? Is there something there? Is there, a possibility of him joining this Alabama staff? I don't know. Would you want to go to Alabama and be, second fiddle to Dan Enos? I'm not sure about that. There are a lot of things that I don't know. One thing I'm sure of is that they've got a plan and they've got alternate plans to fit in, and that's the reason why Dan Enos, who had some feelers as well, has decided to stay, because his role is going to be increased, whether it's in title or not, unless somebody comes and offers him a head coaching job, which I don't anticipate. He's going to be a bigger part of this offense, and rightly so, and going to be the key guy here, maybe along with someone else.
Chris, when you look at this Heisman Trophy and you're looking at two quarterbacks, and I think it's 1A and 1B when you talk about in the best of college football, it's all going to depend on how many votes were turned in, how were they turned in. A lot of people vote 1 and 3. I think that is an integrity situation. When I vote, I voted 1 and 2 and 3. I didn't push my guy down to 3 just to make the one guy get more of the votes. Mm-hmm. What do you think this guy – because, that's what a lot of people do. They vote for their guy. Correct. And they take that number 2 guy and they'll push him down to 3 because they want the guy that they voted for to win the thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've explained it to the audience. It's 3, 2, and 1 point.
Sure.
So you take a point away from –
right.
And that's here's my thing about it. I have no idea what 900 or so people are going to vote. There's just no way for me to know that. Here's what I would say on it. I don't subscribe to the theory that a lot of people do of, well, you got to have a Heisman moment. Oh, what the heck is that anyway? It just that and of course that's the world we live in. So maybe that's just old knucklehead me that just gotta you gotta have that Heisman moment. I don't buy into that. I think you have to look at the entire season, and I think there are a couple of things I would say. Yes, Kyler Murray's played better down the stretch, and he's had a great season. But what I would say is that Tua has done, in my opinion, done it against better defenses, and he's done it for anywhere between half a game to 3/4 of the game in most games. So he's, if you are the stat person, which I'm not, just imagine what the stats would have been if Tua had played 4 quarters for half of the games that he sat out for the 4th quarter. It would be, infinitely more. So to me, I think overall, Tua I don't have a vote. If I did, I would vote Tua because I think he's done it against better competition, better defenses, but I can tell you this, I think both are deserving. I think both have had Heisman Trophy caliber years. In fact, I would say that Dwayne Haskins has had a Heisman Trophy caliber year. In some years where I don't think anybody has had that type of year, I think this year you could definitely make the case that two of them, if not three of them, have, but you can only select one. I would probably go with Tua, and it's nothing to do with me being on Alabama radio. That's kind of how I said it on national radio and whatnot. That's how I would break it in my mind. Just he didn't play in as many snaps, as many quarters, because he sat down, and he's played it against better competition. And when people want to say, what's his Heisman moment, I'd say his Heisman moment is sitting on a bench in the fourth quarter because of the numbers he's putting up in the first 2-3 quarters. That would be my Heisman moment if you were going to pick one of them. I think he's been phenomenal, and I think the fact that he's transformed the offense is phenomenal. Yes, he does. He's on a great team. Yes, he has tremendous weapons. I mean, no doubt about that. But to me, what he's done has been, I think, on a different level. But I don't know where it's going to go. I think it makes for an exciting Saturday because I don't know that there is a true favorite. And as you said, probably when people casted their vote, it's key, because I would probably say most people would probably vote Kyler Murray if they waited towards the end, and they do what a lot of people normally do. They react to what they saw last. Well, what they saw last was Tua being injured and Kyler Murray winning the last couple of games. So I don't know what's going to happen.
LandryFootball.com, Rush the Field podcast every Wednesday. It was just posted about 9 hours ago on LandryFootball.com. If you want a little bit of an appetizer, right? You want to go to these great places, you get these great appetizers. Certainly the podcast gives you a little bit of insight, a little tease of exactly what is available there on LandryFootball.com. Tuesday and Thursday, the Landry Football podcast. They're talking about Urban Meyer stepping down. And I mean, we could go into, Chris, I mean, we could spend another 45 minutes. I mean, we only have a chance just to really brush the surface with all these major topics. That's why the website is so valuable. Talk about how people can connect with you and get more information.
Well, as you mentioned, we're following all the coaching searches. So whether it's who the candidates at Kansas State, and of course, I'm sure you guys have heard that Mel Tucker is officially going to Colorado. We talked about that last week, and the offer was basically made with the understanding they were going to meet after the championship game, and they did on Sunday. So we keep you up to date on all the coaching search information. Certainly breaking down all the games, college and the NFL. Now that the games are winding down before they pick up with the bowl games, we'll have all the bowl game breakdowns. But we're also going to really dig deep into recruiting and recruiting classes of everybody and how their class matches up. And one of the things I'm working on, particularly, I'm going to get to as many teams as I can, but I've already done the Alabama one, haven't put it up yet. But it's kind of breaking down the roster. So how many people use the vernacular 5-star, 4 stars. We'll explain how we do the grades with the blue, red, purple grades and whatnot. You can really see in terms of depth chart and roster where the talent level is at Alabama compared to Clemson, compared to Notre Dame and Oklahoma, so on and so forth. And then obviously we'll have the recruiting analysis of each program where we'll break down, let you know more about the players that are coming into the program, keeping everybody updated with our notebooks of what's going on. A couple of key guys have got, in a post I did last night, probably the top 5-star players that are still not committed, haven't decided. Alabama's involved with a couple of them. We'll kind of see where they stand, how that might play out. We kind of get into that. So, listen, it's one-stop shopping football. We break down the college game, the pro game, inside the film room, recruiting, draft, got all that covered. So right now it's a convergence of film breakdowns of games, coaching search, recruiting, the end of the NFL season. It's a very, very busy time of year. It's a fun time of year, and obviously we do it all year round. As the calendar turns, we turn with it with what's going on around the football world. So you can follow me on Twitter at LandryFootball. We got a special holiday discount, so it's discounted even more. And it's a great holiday gift for yourself or your loved one. Just check us out to get that year membership. That'll be, again, the best rate we've ever had. And follow me on Twitter at LandryFootball.
LandryFootball.com on the Twitter account, LandryFootball.com on the website. Chris, as always, thank you again for your time. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. You do the same, Ryan. Appreciate it, buddy.